This episode is part of an ongoing series on the Trump administration's plans for peace in the Middle East. In the previous episode, we looked at Trump's positions on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict during his first 2.5 years as president. In this episode, we're going to talk about Jared Kushner's Peace to Prosperity plan, which he unveiled in Bahrain in June 2019. And if you're wondering why Jared didn't call it the deal of the century,
the deal of the century.
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 The deal of the century.
I'll let Jared explain that one.
Some people have mockingly called this effort the deal of the century. This effort is better referred to as the opportunity of the century.
Wait, hold on. The problematic part of the deal of the century is the deal part? I'm Donald Trump. I don't make deals. Who's accusing me of making a deal? I just tweet and eat hamburgers dipped in mayonnaise. Or Mike Pence. It's hard to tell the difference. So what's actually in this plan that we're not supposed to call the deal of the century? The plan proposes $50 billion in investment projects like upgrading Palestinian electric grids, building a corridor connecting the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and other projects, most of which were already proposed years ago. In fact, some of the things proposed in Kushner's plan, like improving the Palestinian health sector, were things the US government was already doing until about January 2019, when the Trump administration cut all aid to the Palestinian health sector. Actually, it cut all US aid to the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, period, including things like improving the Palestinian electric grid and hospitals, healthcare, the exact things that are in Jared Kushner's plan. Like, he cut aid to the Palestinians, and then he was like, hey guys, you want some aid? How about let's start with, don't be a dick. And just to get a sense for how cynical this plan is, have a look at this Vice News interview with Khaled Junaidi, whose program was cut by the Trump administration in January 2019.
Junaidi is still bitter at how the administration treated his project. So imagine his surprise when we told him that his face was being used in the glossy White House brochure promoting Jared Kushner's peace plan.
Did you know that they're using your image in these proposals? The Kushner plan, yeah.
لا ما بعرفش.
You didn't know that they're using your face?
لا.
Yeah. This is the report. This is the White House website. That's you, right?
هذا الكلام هذا شغل مجانين.
Kushner is using the photos and the imagery of the people whose programs he cut. But the real problem with this plan, leaving aside its cynical approach to Palestinian aid or its obnoxious use of imagery and photos, the real problem with this plan is that it's doubling down on an approach to solving this conflict that has failed for 40 years.
You can't solve the economic problem without politics. We've seen over 35 billion spent, and maybe with purchasing power parity, it's worth more than the 50 billion since 1993, and actually the economy's gotten worse. But you need to address politics and security before you can then let society develop.
The Palestinians insist there can be no economic solution without a political one.
There can be no economic solution as a substitute to our freedom.
And what's most crazy about Kushner's Peace to Prosperity workshop in Bahrain is that during this whole media bonanza about this workshop, the Trump administration has been quietly taking new policy positions on some of the major issues in the conflict. The first major underreported story is what David Friedman, the US ambassador to Israel, said about Israel and the West Bank. Under certain circumstances, Mr. Friedman said, I think Israel has the right to retain some, but unlikely all of the West Bank, which the New York Times described as an enormously provocative act, and that's because what he said is an enormously provocative act. Like, Israel has the right to retain not all of the West Bank? Like if there was a starving kid and a plump kid, and you had some food, and you told the plump kid, hey, listen, buddy, you're not gonna be able to retain all of this food. You're gonna have to maybe give a little bit to the starving kid. And even more recently, Ambassador Friedman attended a ceremony underground in the Palestinian neighborhood of Silwan in East Jerusalem, and you just gotta watch this video.
Ambassador David Friedman is the first. Wow, it's about to knock it down.
wow, guys, he's the first person. He's about to knock down another Palestinian home in East Jerusalem. Why is there play-by-play commentary? David, seriously? A step even closer to formal recognition of Israeli annexation over East Jerusalem. And finally, I want to share some behind-the-scenes footage that Middle East Tonight obtained from Jared Kushner's Deal of the Century workshop. Have a look. I'm Jared Kushner.
My partners and I are going to make the deal of the century.
Oh my God, Chevy Chase actually looks like Jared Kushner.
Simply lock the target in the sight, and the rest is, well, easy. Order forms are in the catalog, gentlemen. I hope we can do business together. And we will all prosper accordingly. Get the money!
Jared, nobody's prospering. There is no money. No one's investing in your Peace to Prosperity plan. Jared Kushner, Donald Trump, and David Friedman
are going to make the deal of the century.
If you like this video and want to keep following Jared Kushner's Deal of a Century or Seal of a Dentry or whatever you want to call it, subscribe to the channel. Until next time.